So what do we do? A lot of good suggestions. Let me focus on one direct fight. On September 30th, the continuing resolution that funds the federal government expires. I, along with a number of other senators, have publicly pledged under no circumstance will we vote for any continuing resolution that funds even one here, just like the
defund
the IRS, is exactly the same as the reaction in Washington, except they're yelling different things. And listen, I'm going to be brutally honest. If the ordinary rules of Washington apply, if the forums in which the case has to be made are the smoke-filled rooms of Washington, we can't win this fight. I can't win this fight. Mike Lee can't win this fight. No elected politician in Washington can win this fight. The only people who can win this fight are you. We are trying to fundamentally change the rules of Washington. We are trying to fundamentally remind people that under our Constitution, sovereignty doesn't reside in Washington, D.C. It resides with we the people. Now, right now, the people who are fighting the hardest against our effort to defund Obamacare, sadly, are Republicans. Over and over again they say, we can't win this fight.
That's what they always say.
Well, you know what? You lose 100% of the fights that you surrender at the outset. The path to winning this fight is simple. The House of Representatives, in my opinion, should pass a continuing resolution, funds the entirety of the federal government, every bit of it, except Obamacare. And it should explicitly prohibit spending any money, discretionary or mandatory, on Obamacare. Now we've seen the next page of this play. President Obama and the Senate Democrats will get up and scream and yell, the mean, nasty Republicans are threatening to shut down the government.
Which it needs to be shut down anyway.
We got to do something we haven't done in a long, long time. Stand up and win the arguments. President Obama has already granted waivers to every giant corporation in America to spare them the cost of Obamacare. Why is President Obama threatening to shut the government down to deny those same waivers to hardworking American families? President Obama grants waivers to members of Congress. Why is President Obama threatening to shut the federal government down to deny those waivers to hardworking American families? And if President Obama forces a partial temporary shutdown, we have an impasse. One side or the other has to blink. How do you win this fight? Don't blink! The grassroots awakening that we are seeing is powerful. You know, just a few weeks ago, a national website was launched. And Obamacare began to be lost. Just a few weeks ago, the national website don'tfundit.com was launched. Do you know, as of just a few minutes ago, there were 970,000 signatures on don'tfundit.com. How do we get men and women in Washington to listen to the American people? We get millions upon millions of Americans rising up, holding them accountable. Between now and September 30th, if we see millions of Americans going to don'tfundit.com, signing the petition, picking up the phone, calling Republicans, calling Democrats, calling their elected officials, and saying, stand up and do the right thing. If the American people demand, stop Obamacare, the greatest job killer in this country, eventually our elected officials will be forced to do what they should have been doing all along, which is listen to the people. By Labor Day, don'tfundit.com is going to break 1 million. And if every one of those million gets one other person, we'll make it 2 million. And if every one of those gets one other person, we'll make it 4 million. And there comes a point where they have no choice but listen to the people. I want to close by saying...
No! By announcing your candidacy for president.
That's a wonderful reaction. And I have to admit, it's much, much better than the alternative where you say in conclusion and the audience bursts into applause. But I want to close by saying 2 things. Number one,
I'm running for president.
thank you for your passion.
There's enough people telling, run, Ted, run! Run, Ted, run! Run, Ted, run! Oh, he's gonna cry.
What's going to do it? Because every one of us remembers what Ronald Reagan said, that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. That we don't pass it on to our kids in the bloodstream. And not one of us in this room wants to see the day when we're talking to our children or our children's children and answering the question, what was it like to live in America when people were free? That's why we're here, because the men and women in this room are not willing to answer that question. We are standing together to defend liberty, to defend the Constitution, and to restore that shining city on a hill that is the United States.